Howdy folks, Max Caveman here, bringing you back to my TCG victory road towards Anaheim 2025. Today I will be discussing the events of a cup from the 7th of September. A big thing to note about this cup is the fact that this was a best of 1 for Swiss and a top cut of best of 3. Just due to time constraints that the store basically put on us, because a best of 3 Swiss with top cut usually runs late, and the store was not on board with doing the staying open late. That's what I was trying to say. Now, for this event, I was running Gholdengo with Palkia VSTAR. This was one of my more confident with decks. That's the big thing. I just needed a deck that I was truly comfortable with today. So, starting off round number 1, I was facing off against Lugia. Now, this was Lugia with Minccino and Weirdia. They're the big things to keep on top of for this game. Basically, I was so slow, I guess. The big thing that I was doing was trying to keep the right target getting knocked out, because as soon as I got the Archaeopsis on board, it was like, okay, what do I need to take out? How do I take it out at this point? And I actually got checkmated. There was 3 targets at one stage, and it was just like, nah, I can't do 3 separate targets to try and do it. A big thing was also my Palkia V-Star getting targeted, and my Fezandipiti. Definitely big issues with those, but ultimately I did lose after I was like, I can't do anything here. I can either knock out the Weirdia, the Lugia, or the Minccino. They were my 3 targets, and I needed to take all 3 of them out that turn, and that wasn't going to happen. So, end up losing. Moving on to round number 2. I was facing off against a future box with heavy emphasis on Iron Thorns EX. Now, I did want to call this a Iron Thorns deck, but it definitely was more of the future box build, with a big focus on using the Miraidon to peak acceleration energy onto the Pokemon. But luckily for me, they didn't get a Iron Thorns out at first. Initially, I was thinking this was going to be a Turbo Hands list. Realistically, it could have been, but then the Iron Thorns came out and started to mess up my deck, just because there are so many abilities in play. I basically was going through, used my Hyper Aroma, basically got all the Gholdengos out, and then using either, I think it was Pokemon Catcher to get the last Iron Hands out into the active. So I got my abilities back, and then just drew enough so that I could guarantee the Canceling Cologne to take the next knockout. which did lead to me winning that game quite well, which was great because that definitely took a little bit of pressure off, because I didn't want to have to go potentially have to win 3 games straight to give me that room to lose another game or get the bye or take an ID. Moving on to round number 3. In this game, I was facing off against Darksard. So this was Darksard with, well, it's Pidgeot Darksard with the Dust Noir line. My opponent in this game messed up pretty badly. So I get the first. I'm going first. I get my Radiant Greninja out. I start powering up. I start building my board, and especially building up my discard. Like I have a guaranteed evolution into Palkia VSTAR. On my next turn, I pass. Then my opponent just starts going Buddy-Buddy Poffins, fill their bench, placed Lumineon to extend further, and then plays the Collapsed Stadium in their deck list. And they they forgot to hold off on the Collapsed Stadium because they, I believe they grabbed an Arven for a Forest Sealstone, and then they played the stadium before they used the Forest Sealstone. So they should have basically used the Forest Sealstone, play the stadium, get rid of the Lumineon to get rid of that 2-prize liability, and they couldn't get rid of it. They needed it so badly. So ultimately their bench was Lumineon, Pidgeot, Charizard, Pidgey, Charmander, and then there was something else. I can't remember exactly what it was. And then they passed, sadly, and I was like, oh, I feel like you should have got, I said to them they should have got Manaphy onto the bench, and then I just played down my Palkia VSTAR, and they scooped because the writing was on the wall that I was going to Moonlight Shuriken, take out both their Charmanders, and then put them far behind in the game. So they just decided wasn't worth it and scooped. So definitely a good sequence. Luckily for me, they end up dropping from the tournament after this game. They just weren't in the right mindset to keep playing, but that happens all the time. So that is that. Moving on to round number 4, we are facing off against Boltpon. A pretty decent matchup for me going in. Definitely good, getting the 2 prizes out. Both of our decks were really running deep into the deck. I was definitely cruising through, using Hyper Aroma, getting the Gholdengos, and even the Palkia out, swinging. Definitely worked to my benefit, and it was the big thing that I took away from that game was prize mapping, and I mapped my prizes perfectly, taking out the Pokemon with the most energy left, trying to deny a double energy attach Professor Sal's Vitality, ultimately, I did end up actually going their last turn. They needed to get one last energy out of the deck or from the discard, and sadly they got it and paid the retreat and swung for game. Definitely the best matchup so far of the day, taking such meticulous details about who's attacking into what's doing everything. But ultimately, it was my loss, which did put me into a very annoying situation, because at this point I am 2-2, and a 3-2 is a potential bubble in, so it all comes down to the final round of Swiss, and I am in a Gholdengo mirror match, and this was very interesting. Now, it is a mirror match in the sense of we were both playing Gholdengo, but my opponent was running a Gholdengo list with the Dunsparce. I wasn't using the Dunsparce. The list that I did use was the highest placing player at Worlds, so that was kind of what I was doing, is because I needed something pretty decent, so it was sort of like who had the better list. I decided to go first, and I was in a big predicament. Got my first deck search off. I just flicked through. I just got the card I needed, flipped it down, that sort of stuff, and then I knew there was. I had worked out that there was at least a Pokemon that I needed for my prizes, so I went to Hisuian Heavy Ball, got that Pokemon out, and realized what was prized. I had my Canceling Cologne and my Hyper Aroma prized, and that was not good at all. Hyper Aroma had been key all day, getting me my Gholdengos when I needed them. So I was pretty nervous about this. However, I did have a Gholdengo in my opening hand, so I was able to get the first Gholdengo out. However, that wasn't enough. So I was in a 1-2-2-1. Well, that was my line for prizes, and my opponent was in a 2-2-2 line, and that helped him so much more. We both realized early on what we needed to do, and that was we were both going to go for a Radiant Greninja play. We both got, my opponent was able to shut down my Palkia first, giving them the lead in prizes, and then I just took their Palkia, and then they had everything they needed. Basically, I think the big thing I needed in that matchup was an Airy, just to deny specific item cards, but ultimately they had enough energies to do enough make it rains to win out, so I ended up being 2-3 overall in Swiss, and I placed 15th overall. It wasn't too bad of a showing. Even if I did win that last match, I wasn't making it through. 3-2 did end up bubbling into top cut, but my percentages were terrible. So I wasn't making it into top cut. unless the percentages got changed out dramatically. But that's it for that event. Sadly, that means it's 3 cups in a row that I failed to make points. We do have one more cup coming up, which is going to be in the Stellar Crown format, so I do not know what I am going to be playing at that event. I guess I will have to do some playtesting on live or in person, but it's the last chance to get points for this quarter for cups, and that's what I kind of want to do, is get at least one lot of cup points, so in each quarter, just so I'm not scrambling too much at the end. But I guess that is it for now. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you got a little bit of an understanding of what's going on in the meta in my neck of the woods. But I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. See ya.